What if I told you that a baby placed in your arms for the very first time has already been listening to you, learning you, and quietly remembering you for months, long before its eyes ever opened to the world, long before it took its first breath, in a place you might have assumed was too dark and too closed off for anything like memory to exist at all? This question, do babies have memories from birth, sounds almost impossible to answer, because we usually think of memory as something tied to language, to a sense of self, to the kind of conscious recollection that lets us say, "I remember that day." A newborn has none of that. And yet, researchers have found something that completely changes how we think about the beginning of a human mind. Here is the first surprise. A baby's hearing develops far earlier than most people realize, becoming functional by around 18 weeks of pregnancy, which means that for nearly half of the entire pregnancy, the baby is inside a body that is constantly making sound, a heartbeat, a digestive rhythm, and above everything else, a voice muffled and filtered through fluid and tissue, but unmistakably present, unmistakably repeating day after day for months. And in one of the most quietly remarkable experiments in developmental psychology, researchers played recordings to newborns just hours after birth, the mother's voice and the voice of a complete stranger, and measured how the baby responded. The newborns consistently turned toward, calmed for, and showed clear behavioral preference for the mother's voice every single time. Hours old, never having heard anything outside the womb, and already showing a preference built entirely on memory formed before birth. Now here is the twist that makes this even more astonishing. This is not just about voices. Researchers in a different study had pregnant mothers read the same short story aloud, repeatedly, during the final weeks of pregnancy. After birth, when those same babies heard that exact story again, their heart rate and behavior changed in ways that showed clear recognition. But when they heard a new, unfamiliar story, there was no such response. The baby was not simply recognizing a voice. It was recognizing a pattern, a rhythm, a specific sequence of sound it had heard dozens of times before it ever existed outside its mother's body. This is not memory in the way adults experience memory. With pictures and stories we can consciously recall. It is something older and more fundamental, something scientists call implicit memory, a kind of remembering that lives in the body and the nervous system rather than in conscious thought, shaping preference and comfort and recognition without ever needing to be called up as a clear mental picture. And this is why a newborn can be soothed by a familiar lullaby its mother sang throughout pregnancy, or why a baby seems to instantly recognize the particular cadence of a father's voice if he spoke to it often before birth. Not because the baby remembers in words, but because something in its nervous system already knows the shape of that sound, already finds it familiar, already feels, in some wordless and ancient way, like home. And maybe this is the realization worth carrying with you. Long before a baby can know your name, long before it can understand a single word you say, it is already building a memory of you. Not in pictures, but in feeling, in rhythm, in the particular comfort of something it has somehow always known. Connection does not begin the moment a baby is born. It begins long before, in the quiet, patient work of a small and listening mind. If this changed the way you think about the earliest days of life, share it with someone who is expecting, or someone who has ever wondered what a baby already knows. Subscribe for more mind secrets.